Professor Faegheh Shirazi, a professor in the Middle East study in University of Texas in Austin. She wrote 4 books specifically on how clothes, symbolism, and how the role that clothes plays in Islam and was a Muslim, and the history and political symbolism. Thank you so much. We'll ask you a first question about your reaction to the been happening in Iran. You were born in Iran, right?
That's correct. And I was raised there until age of 19.
Oh, really?
I have my elementary and high school in Iran.
And how was that like?
Oh, well, that's century back.
I know. That's another show.
Yeah, that's very different from what they do now.
I don't know why the Western media or Western pundits are so fixated on Muslim woman wardrobe, and especially the hijab, which the hijab has a huge history, and it can be a symbol of so many things. And so I just finished reading, or not the whole thing, but your book, Veil Unveiled. And if you can crack the veil's code, you are in a very good shape. But obviously, until today, even all these years in Orientalism and all of this, still the West misuse and use the veil based on their own agenda. When you look how the media cover the protests in Iran, it's like a jihad against the veil, which in fact it is against the Ayatollahs' oppressive regime. And the youth been protesting for 40, 50 years since the Ayatollah came to power. So tell us, what's your reaction on how the Western media cover the protest in Iran? Okay.
Let me just say briefly something about how Western media covered it. Nothing. They are so silent and quiet. Okay, since maybe 5 days, 6 days, we started to see on not in the local news, nothing of that sort, but in the media of like more prominent, prestigious newspapers in United States, like Wall Street Journal, New York Times, Washington Post, we started to see some that they are reporting. Okay, the biggest problem with that, my friend, is if you're not in the field, if you're not there to see and observe yourself, how can you write about it? So their sources is exactly as my sources.
Yes.
And what is my sources? Clips that we received from Iran, the ordinary citizens that they hide here and there, and then they shoot some, a minute clip or 2 minutes and give their own, tafsir or, interpretations.
I understand what you're saying, and I know they don't have a reporter on the ground, but they have something. And I think the problem, not so much that they say nothing or they don't have nothing. The problem when they have somebody is not familiar with the history of Iran, is not familiar with the hijab, how the hijab is used. In the series, the Shah prevented hijab or whatever. Everybody wants to wear hijab. Ataturk, when he came to Turkey, wants to take the hijab off. People want the hijab. Sisi in Egypt wants to take the hijab off of people. The prison is full of people who wants to wear the hijab. So
yeah, it is. It is a political vehicle. It looks like these oppressive groups of governments They cannot function on their own for a prominent reason.
Yeah.
And finding their reason and then their justification by going after the women. And what is the most visible, outwardly visible of a Muslim woman is her hijab. So using that as a political vehicle, by the virtue of we are Muslim, especially the government of Iran, because it's an Islamic Republic, and in our constitution, Islam is, our way of life.
Sharia.
But I don't see anywhere in the Islam that it says that beat up women because they are not wearing their hijab according to your dress code.
Yeah, but that's a religious.
Exactly. So what is the way, or how many different ways these people who live in Iran under such harsh conditions at this time, especially women, they have been targeting young women because the outspoken people are the teenagers. They don't have any back history of how the 50 years ago Shah life was, how maybe their grandparents lived under the Shah, not even their parents.
Mm-hmm.
So the problem is, why is it that from the day first that you fed these people this political religious environment that they have created, okay, we're gonna rule by Islam. Okay, why is it that these people are not learning anything? They had no other influence from home or a school. The problem is these guys are educated.
The protesters.
Most everybody in Iran, like 98% are educated. A large number are overeducated with advanced degrees, okay? Because when they don't find job, they go back to school and do something more. Okay.
I see.
Exactly. So why is it that you cannot convince this 15-year-old that wear the hijab the way I want, and then you will be going to heaven? They don't want this kind of heaven because they are educated, they can read for themselves, and they are not asking Ahmed to come in the street with a bikini.
No.
They are
just I think free. Yeah, I think it is a matter of what the hijab symbolized at this moment. It symbolized the oppressive Ayatollah regime. I mean, you talked about how the hijab was used during Iran-Iraqi war.
Exactly.
From the two sides, because here's a secular Ba'ath state that they put Islamists in jail and killed. All of a sudden, we found Allahu Akbar on their flag.
Exactly. Like they say Allahu Akbar, and in the Iranian flag is La ilaha illallah, with a really fanciful way.
But the Iranian promoted the hijab differently than the Iraqi during the war. How?
The Iranian promoted the hijab, they meshed it because within the first 6 months of the Iranian revolution that toppled the Shah of Iran, this Islamic revolution happened, and one of the biggest symbols is the hijab, okay? Because it's outwardly, you can see it with your eyes. But how they meshed the idea of hijab is also protecting your Shi'i religion. At the same time, our women are the warriors. Okay? Iranian women are the warrior. They are the true shuhada. They are the true shuhada. Why? even though they were, according to Islamic Republic of Iran, they were not active in the battlefield because they did not allow women to serve military.
In the front line.
Yeah, no, they were not in military at all because anything Shah did, these people didn't want to do. To show they are Muslim, and Shah was wrong. Okay, one of the things Shah made it compulsory is just like a military service. Okay, but the women were drafted too. They will be trained in the boot camp.
Feminism.
Exactly. But what these guys did, they say that how you become a shaheed when you are sitting home and your father and brother and your son are fighting the front row with Saddam Hussein. Okay, in order to glorify these women, they said that they are the actual shaheed, because in doing that, supporting their men who cannot support a drafted man.
No, of course, our heroes.
It is obvious, but they came up with all these posters. They came up with all these posters to show images, and these posters, the graphic idea became very important in promoting the war resistance with the Iraq and also promoting hijab at the same time. So you can see the mesh of the religious ideology and the political side of it. In all of these posters, you will see women, if there is any woman, she is wearing the government preferred form of hijab.
Shadur.
Exactly. But we don't cover face. They are just wearing maqna'a and a chador, and I don't know why they choose black. Black in Shiism is always like a mourning. You know, the death.
They're still mourning.
Remember, we gave shaheed for you. Well, I didn't ask for them to go. Anyway, so in the political arena, all these political posters that they were hanging around the entire country, coming on the internet. When you see women, either she is faceless, so she becomes like the Fatima al-Zahra, the prophet daughter that sacrificed herself. I don't know how they weave the story. Or the Zainab, the sister of Hussein, or, you know, all the other female characters, but faceless. They even have image of the Holy Maryam, that as one exemplary example. I don't know what that has to do with the Shiism, but how the posters were used to promote the war and support this war of almost 9 years. So images are very important.
Yeah, I mean, very important in our consumerism life here. But how did the Iraqi use hijab as opposed to the Iranian? This is a secular Ba'athi state.
They were always big on promoting women and promotion of the women, like empowered and being emancipated, because Iraqi government during that time had many women, created many positions, important positions, not only in military, but as pilots and all that.
Ministries and all.
Exactly.
And that was the most educated in the Arab world at the time. And
yes, I don't know why they go backward rather than forward, but
we don't know where the end and the beginning is. We are somewhere in the middle. We don't know what direction we're going.
The difference is saying that these veiled women are captured in home, they are less educated. It's exactly the same idea and mentality of what the Orientalism were saying, exactly the same thing. you know, in Iran, you have a female Ayatollah, many female Ayatollahs.
Really? I didn't know that.
Oh, yes. And let me tell you, from the Madrasa Faegheh from Qom, that's where they train the religious scholars. Before revolution, no woman would be admitted. This revolution made it possible. First, they opened the institution to the women. The second thing is they allowed the women to go as far as they want, to even become an Ayatollah, but with a little bit of difference. The little bit of difference, she is an Ayatollah, she can do everything except fatwa.
For the same Maryam, you know, not doing a whole lot, but she is a virgin, you know, that's her.
They cannot stand the idea. Yeah. I think this is against the mentality of masculinity or patriarchy, you know, I don't know, patriarchy.
Yeah, you know, I just saw a newspaper in India with a headline saying, let me get it there so I will not be misquoting there. That nothing warmed my heart like the sight of a woman burning the hijab, reflecting on what's going on in Iran. This is coming from a country that the men wear hijab, the sheikh covered. So you know, Israelis will stand with women of Iran. Coming from a country, they shoot young girls that were Palestinian. Look, you talked about how the hijab was used in Western commercial,
the culture.
And advertisements and all of that. Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, the advertisement. Under the advertisement, I have one entire book, Brand Islam.
Okay.
Okay. Which is continuation of one of the chapters in my The Veil Unveiled. It talks about from how the industry, obviously in the Muslim majority countries that people know things are halal or if they have to wear a hijab or not, and then the Iranian women prior to this uprising, they were creating their own fanciful hijab, and of course the government was never happy with how they make themselves look, and they will call it westernized hijab, not a truly hijab. It is just the issue of control. But how some of the Muslim majority countries like Indonesia, like Turkey, and they have so many devout Muslims, particularly Indonesia, which is the #1 population of Muslims. They came up with the commercialized hijab, which is like a fashion houses creating for the particular consumers that they are tired of what their grandmother wore. They want to have hand in the modernity, but not really losing their devoutness to the religion. And they have been very successful. It's the same thing that for the longest time, the Iranian women would buy beautiful scarves from Turkey.
Victoria's Secret scarf.
Yeah, beautiful scarves. So this caught the attention of the West. The attention of the West for how long they have been missing this powerful number of the consumers. They live among us, but we never cared about them. So they started also to compete. To compete in what? At the beginning was a disaster because I followed all the hijab, from the Western perspective and all that. Like you don't show a model wearing a scarf and showing her belly. That to us is ridiculous. it takes away from the purpose of hijab.
Modesty.
Exactly. There is no modesty. Or showing cleavage and then putting a scarf over it, by these high-rate, beautiful models. Okay. It didn't work because they got a lot of comments about, please do not insult us. This is not hijab. So for a while, those companies, mainstream clothing manufacturer.
Fashion, okay?
Yeah, they tried to come up with things and they were successful. However, then you had the other segments of the fashion designer, the prestige fashion houses. They were very resistant. They did not want to be part of this religious, what they call it, shenanigans or whatever.
Yeah, oppressive.
Oppressive, and they don't want to make anything for the women that is further oppress them.
Yeah.
Okay, so they resisted for a while, but then they joined too.
We see Nike, we see models wearing hijab,
everything, and then also since maybe 4 or 5 years ago, they started hiring actual Muslim models to wear their clothes to make it more authentic. Okay, but remember, for the longest time, the people in the Gulf region, the countries in Gulf region, and also Saudi women, because they are invested with so much money and they always were consumers of the Western products, adjusting to their own, culture.
Well, I mean, Mohammed and Salman will allow women to take off her hijab as long as she put the hijab on her mouth.
Exactly.
And then, we're not going to be
talking about ordinary, wealthy people that they were devout too, coming from a very devout religious background. What they did were they will purchase Yves Saint Laurent, Gucci, large scarf designed particularly for the women in Gulf and Saudi.
Well, I mean, the idea of secularizing religion, I don't think the West have a problem of a secularizing religion like they've done it here. And they don't mind secularized Muslim women. But
and sell products.
Yeah, exactly. As long as they're not challenging political Islam, that's what scares them.
In the U.S., there is no law, that says that you cannot wear your religious symbolism and all. Those,
in France,
although when they wear it, they get criticized,
yeah,
or they will look upon as, oh, what's she doing here? Not realizing she might be the third generation of Muslims, born and raised here. But particularly in Europe, France, Belgium, and those countries that they are so much against the Islam and they associate Muslims with terrorist activities, they want to demolish this visual representation of Islam from the public. And once they stopped wearing, girls in the high school in France to wear their hijab in the school, they started to complain that if we cannot wear this, you have to remove the symbol of other religions.
Yeah.
So they did not allow. If you are wearing a necklace, as long as you are with the cross or the image of Jesus, you are not allowed to display it openly. You have to stick it inside. Because
that's a happy Jesus.
Exactly. Exactly.
So much for coming on such a Sunday. Enjoy the rest of the day, and the conversation will continue.
Yes. And by the way, the 5th book is coming in May. It's about Islamicate textiles. I will send you a copy.
Well, thank you so much. Please sign it. Please sign it.
Yes, I will send you a copy personally when it comes out. It comes out in spring.
Sounds very good. It's a good time to read it.
Defiant despite the regime's brutal crackdown. Students from Sharif University, one of Iran's most respected, are sometimes called geniuses, chased by the likes of MIT and Stanford. Today, they're being chased by state security forces.
The government wants to control this protest, but I hope this time it will be different. And I